Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will be hosting this webinar today, me and Stephanie, on how to make frontline employees equal partners in risk. I am Blurda, and I'm a solution consultant in risk. I worked nearly 2 years in ServiceNow. I'm based in London, UK, and specialize mostly in the financial services sector when I basically guide and support a range of FS clients here in the UK. Before joining ServiceNow, I was working in implementing GRC solutions for various organizations and basically getting a deep understanding of industry best practices. This is the first webinar I will be hosting. We will have a series of webinars when we will discussing some of the unique ways we can leverage ServiceNow platform to drive greater automation in risk. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by my colleague Stephanie Mrakovic, who is based on North America. Stephanie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining from. My name is Stephanie Mrakovic, and I'm a solutions consultant based within Canada. So I work across the country within all different industries across all of our different risk products. And I'm really excited for today's presentation because this is a topic that comes up so often when speaking with our customers about the challenges that they're facing with regards to managing their risk program for their organization. So really looking forward to this today.
Yeah, without further ado, I think we should get into the agenda. So basically, we will start with defining the challenges that frontline or the business users currently have, how we as ServiceNow work and invest in simplifying this experience. We will definitely put our words into a demonstration, so you can get to see like things that we will be presenting afterwards. And at the end, please don't hesitate to ask any questions that you may have at the end. Okay, so I know while adopting an integrated approach to risk and compliance can provide a consistent framework, still is not enough. I think the organization needs to integrate risk and compliance into their everyday work experiences, making it a natural part of how they work. Hence, that's why when we look at the market trends, it's become apparent that a key focus is reduction of employees' risk and compliance overhead. This obviously is in contrast with traditional approaches that typically have prioritized the second and the third line. This often overlooking the front line. Hence, the front line and the business users have struggled with a lack of easily accessible information with simply and intuitive tools. So carrying those risk and compliance and responsibilities was leading them to ignore these kind of activities because it was too difficult. Hence, this has created a significant gap on the organization risk defenses. At ServiceNow, we recognize the importance of this trend and have prioritized creating intuitive and user-friendly experience for frontline employees, basically with the meaning of promoting better risk and compliance practices and experiences. And the goal is to create a culture of shared responsibility, which will result on better risk practice, risk management outcomes for the organization as a whole. And mostly when it comes that we are a platform, we do have the opportunity to allow our customers to foster shared experience across multiple departments, not only risk, but IT, HR, security, and like all of the other departments. And then leveraging this cross-functional collaboration, we can design more efficient workflows, and this will lead to reducing manual work, will unlock data insights, cross-department data insights, and this will result in a streamlined and simplified process for all departments involved. Having like all these multiple platforms to use can be a significant challenge for employees as they have to switch between different platforms to complete their task. It can be very time consuming. It can be confusing. I had this feeling before, and I'm sure you felt the same, Stephanie.
Absolutely. I think when we think about the experience for those frontline users that we're trying to engage in this process, it can be very confusing. They don't necessarily have the same understanding of, managing risk and compliance activities that some of the stakeholders on the line do. And, it can be very confusing. There might be multiple different systems that are involved, depending on if we're talking about enterprise risk or third-party risk, or, where do I go to raise or track issues that I'm helping to remediate? Where are the controls that I own? Sometimes these are scattered across multiple different systems. So it can be very difficult and confusing, especially if they're really only engaging once or twice a year, once in a while, for them to remember back to what that process was before, or how they did it in the past, or where to access the information that they need. So the other challenge with this as well, too, is, the frontline users and business stakeholders are so important for us to be able to manage that compliance posture and overall the culture around managing risk within our organization. Of course, we know how important it is, but if we're going to want to engage them to do this effectively so that we can collaborate and work together on this, we need to be able to make it easy for them. I think, when we think to what their experience looks like, it can be quite complex, as we talked about. So let's just think about an example of a day in the life of one of those business stakeholders. And while we're looking at their example, I'm sure that many of us on the line have experienced some of the sentiment here within our own roles when somebody's asking us to do something that maybe isn't part of our day-to-day core activities or job descriptions. But thinking about that business stakeholder, they start by logging in, the morning of their day, taking a look at their emails. They might notice that they have an email for an IRM task that they need to complete. And, of course, they'll need to reshuffle their schedule to support this. The next is that they might be asked to now joining an IRM meeting to actually discuss this program. And this is another thing that they now need to fix and fit into their schedule. As they start working on the task, there could be multiple systems that they're logging into. They might be unclear on what is the actual steps I need to take? How do I define, an issue that I'm trying to submit, or where do I find this information? So being able to understand where are the resources to guide them through this experience in itself can be confusing, let alone understanding what system to go to, what folder this is saved in. Am I opening this up in a GRC tool or in something like Microsoft Word or Excel? There's a lot of different places to go. And then once they finally do complete the task and submit that to you, sometimes they actually receive that with errors, which doesn't feel good if now they have to go back, make the corrections to it. They're already frustrated. The last thing that they want to be, doing here is having to do rework for something, again, that's not really part of their day-to-day job. And so even once they start to fix the errors and the issues, the sentiment there is not typically that positive, which is not what we want from our business stakeholders to experience. And finally, they actually wrap up their day feeling like maybe this took away from the time they needed to spend on the other activities that are part of their job. So if this is the sentiment that we're hearing from business stakeholders who need to be collaborators with us as IRM professionals, then there needs to be a bit of a shift. And the reason why it's difficult to continue working like this with the sentiment is that there's actually consequences to that struggle, the confusion, the back and forth, the errors. When you think about, using legacy tools or multiple different solutions that might not be easy, there's a lot of back and forth that can be made here. And, we saw a stat that said it could cost up to 480 billion in dollars lost annually due to lack of employee engagement, due to that back and forth, the confusion, the errors, the mistakes. This could be just issues in terms of time wasted in dollars. This could also be the consequence of regulatory fines if we're finding that there are errors and mistakes in how we're reporting over all our compliance or how we're saying that we're mitigating these issues. So the fact that these legacy tools don't have that dynamic, intuitive experience, the ability to have a single place to log in, the ease in which they can communicate or collaborate back and forth. There's, no ability to kind of chat or collaborate from that perspective, or perhaps maybe just modern tools like being able to work on mobile or tablet devices or communicate back and forth with chatbots the way that they're used to doing in their day-to-day life. This presents a big challenge. Okay, wouldn't it be nice if there was a better way?
And absolutely. And that's why we recognize the importance of integrating these risk and compliance activities into day-to-day activities. So, and hence we've been exploring ways to achieve this and make this, let's say, a seamless part of the work environment. And to be honest, to begin with, we need to acknowledge the interconnectedness of day-to-day activities and risk management. And we need to start thinking how to incorporate risk, compliance, and resilience into the daily workflows. And this can have a significant impact on the organization overall risk management culture. And just to give an example, for if you're a loan processor reviewing a loan application, the risk assessment should be part of your daily operations interface. And any exceptions on the risk standards, on the policies should be dealt with in the same interface. And this makes it very easy to manage that risk, to manage that policy from the same interface. And how this could happen is basically we need to embed those risk workflows, those compliance workflows into these daily tools and making them easily accessible to everyone. And then additionally, providing mobile tools, providing additional capabilities, so we can ensure that the business users, the frontline, have access to the risk management tools when they need it, regardless where they are on the location where they are. Doing this, making risk, compliance, resilience a seamless part of the day-to-day activities promotes a risk-aware culture within the organization. And then if you look at this, when you make risk management a natural part of the employee's workflow, they are more likely to understand, they are more likely to comply with the risk management procedures and policies. And then this basically eliminates the need for employees to search for appropriate systems or tools to engage, and basically streamlines this whole risk management process across the organization. Mm-hmm. So this is, if we look at this slide, you can see some of the key features, and I think we will go through some of the key features that will allow us to do that, starting from the employee portal, mobile apps, chatbots, and these are some of the key capabilities that will enable the employee to access those risk workflows on interfaces that this employee sees on his daily activities.
I love that. And I love what you said about making a risk-aware culture, because we really do need to be able to work together on this. So tell us, Florida, a little bit more about these different capabilities that ServiceNow has to be able to support integrating that experience for these frontline stakeholders.
Yeah, and this is why I started with the employee portal. And that basically, when we designed this, our goal was to simplify the user experience by integrating all of our services, not only risk, HR, IT, legal, on one modern and unified employee portal. This portal basically provides a one-stop solution for not only like various cross departments, but also other integrated risk management tasks, vendor risk tasks, operational resilience tasks, So includes all these tasks that you can do, and you can do across those areas. So basically streamlines this experience. You share an experience with in IT, you share an experience with HR, and you share an experience within risk as well. So if you get familiar with like how to raise an IT request, you will basically share the same experience of raising a risk request. So what we're doing, we're trying to streamline these tasks with one easily accessible view, making it very effortless for users to navigate and manage their responsibility, no matter of like what area they want to access through this portal, because basically they're going to share the experience and they're going to be able to navigate through different key capabilities of this portal, same way for all areas that they have embedded within the portal.
I love that. So one place to go. I don't need to be, as a stakeholder, confused about where to go for enterprise risk, vendor risk. It's all in one place. I can find those activities. And I think what's really powerful about this as well, to your point, Blurta, is that ServiceNow as a platform has so many different solutions. So if employees are already familiar with a place to go submit their IT ticket, if they're having issues with their laptop or an HR related case, they can use that same interface that they're already familiar with to do all those different types of GRC activities. That's awesome. What if now I wanted to be able to, have conversations, because as you know, ChatGPT is really popular right now. So I'm sure there's questions around how are we able to kind of support that same type of experience?
Yeah, and additionally, we have this virtual agent that's basically integrated natively within ServiceNow as a platform and integrated within the employee portal as well. And it's an end-to-end intelligent conversational experience that allows for instance resolution based on your request. And also you can action common requests from the chat here. It comes out of the box with multiple templates and pre-built natural language understanding. So it makes it easier for employees to search for everything. I'm sure everyone had the experience to search for a policy, had the hassle of like having to click through multiple pages to find a policy. With a virtual agent, and that's something that we can demonstrate later on as well. You can simply search with a keyword and get the information you need in seconds. So that's one of the key areas. And also you can have that guided experience, like, we all had cases on like maybe once in a year having to create an incident. So with chatbot, you can basically create those experiences. You can create a guided approach and ask questions in the way you want to, and in the same way getting the information you want from the employee as well.
Mm-hmm. What I like about this, what you're showing here, is really that guided experience. So, noticing how it's kind of asking and prompting all these questions that makes it so much easier for stakeholders to be able to just simply respond to those required questions and be guided through that experience. Now, this is looking at a virtual chatbot on the portal. What are other options for stakeholders to interact and to be able to do these types of activities?
Yeah, and when we were seeing like how our customers were liking virtual agent, how our customers were liking the employee portal as well, and we recognize as well the Microsoft Teams has experienced as explosive growth over the past years. We all know that the business rely on Microsoft Teams for communication and collaboration. We thought on this out of the box integrations of Microsoft Teams with ServiceNow. And this basically means that you integrating ServiceNow within Teams, Business Now can leverage the power of the Teams platform and then can extend it to all enterprise workflows. And that's not only GRC related functions. So you can leverage Teams, you can leverage all the areas that you have key capabilities of Teams, and you can extend that to all enterprise workflows in ServiceNow. What does this do? This basically eliminates the need for users to learn new tools or switch from Teams in order to report risk incidents, issues, or other matters. And then it enables your employees to have access to the information and services they require anytime and anywhere. And that's from Teams through their desktop app or through Teams through their mobile app. This basically enables them to have some ServiceNow experience from Teams. And some of the key capabilities include them being able to raise GRC requests, them being able to search policies, receive status updates. They can access all the features of the Employee Center portal directly with Teams. So if they like the forms, if they want to go through a report, they can go and find this report through the experience they have within Teams.
I like that. And I noticed that it's not just the virtual agent, but it's also that full employee center. So, if I can't remember what's the link to get to the employee portal, and I'm familiar with Teams and I'm already managing notifications here, it makes it so much easier for me to be able to access that. Likewise, if I'm, bogged down by emails, it sounds like it's very easy for me to be able to pick up some of these conversations in Teams, if that is my preferred method of communication.
Yeah, exactly. And now imagine receiving those notifications as a ping on Teams instead. So you will be able to see these notifications in one place, but you can also act on them directly in Teams. So without the need to switching back and forth through your email. So this integration allows for actionable notifications as well. So meaning you can receive informational notifications, but you can also action some of these notifications. So what does that do? This means that you can approve, you can respond to comments, you can have different kind of requests within Teams. So like you can approve a policy acknowledgement, you can acknowledge a policy acknowledgement, for example, requests from Teams, you can approve incidents, you can add comments on some of these requests. This basically makes it very easy for you to manage and respond all the requests you may have without having to navigate through different emails, without having to go on different platforms. It's going to be all on Teams, and it will offer you a way, more efficient way to manage notifications and enable you to stay on top of your most important tasks from one place.
That's great. This is actually a common question that I get asked by customers, is about the deep linking capabilities. And while absolutely you can include a link in these notifications to bring you directly into the portal, I love how you're describing that you can actually just take action directly from here. So in cases where I might not even need to open up the deep link, I can actually see the details. I know it says incident on the screen, but replace the word incident with a risk event, an issue, a remediation task. And the fact that you can just reply to the chatbot or to the virtual agent or to the Teams notification, and it'll actually update that directly in ServiceNow. So I guess we've gone through the portal, view experience, the chatbot, and the fact that both of those are available within Teams directly. What else is there, Blurta, that our customers can take advantage of?
Yeah, the other thing that I'd like to mention is the mobile app. So we do have a mobile app that basically provides an easy and a convenient way to manage risk and compliance activities from anywhere, anytime as well. And the app for GRC allows you to access all GRC related information, all services that you may need, and has other benefits as well. You can approve policies, you can approve exceptions, you can approve risk acceptance tasks directly from your mobile device. And this means that you can stay on top of like all these important tasks, even when you're away from your desk, and you can manage the assigned, unassigned work. You can ensure the tasks are being completed in time. So because you would have this information in the mobile app, and you can address all these overdue tasks. You also, when it comes to notifications as well, you can receive notifications when tasks are approaching their due dates. So you can take actions, and basically what we're trying to say here is with these things, that the key capabilities that we went through, you can manage risk and compliance regardless of where you are. If you're in the office, if you're on the road, if you're working remotely, you can access all the information and all services you need to stay on top of your tasks. And we did go through some on the slides on some of the key areas, but I think now is the time to switch to the demonstration part and bring these slides we went through to life.
Absolutely. So we'll dive into the solution and show you today what that portal view looks like for those frontline employees or business stakeholders who need to get involved. We'll show you what the virtual agent looks like and how you can actually have that conversation and communicate back and forth. Then we'll take a look at how both of those are going to be available directly within Teams through an integration that you can easily establish. And then finally, a view into that mobile app and the different options that you have to be able to take care of various activities, no matter what type of GRC activities they may be. All right, so we're now logged into ServiceNow as an employee or a business stakeholder, and what we're looking at here is called the employee portal. This is a dedicated portal where your employees, your stakeholders, they can come in, they can work on their GRC related tasks, submit tickets or items, and be able to search through different articles you might post. You're likely already using some form of this portal today if you're already a ServiceNow customer. You know, a very common use case is employees coming in here to actually submit things like IT tickets as an example. But knowing that ServiceNow is a platform with many different solutions, it is likely that you might also have things like your HR policies or other related items in here today. So really, it's one place that they can go to complete all the activities they need to. So in the context of risk and compliance, they can come in here, they can start to work on things like their GRC tasks, or even start to submit different issues or risks or items related to your IRM program. Now, what's really interesting is that this portal you're looking at is highly configurable. So you can completely change the branding, the content that's showing up on the screen, the types of items that people are able to submit, the types of activities they're able to complete in here. All of that can be tailored to your use case and your organization. And it is a very common thing for organizations to do, which really just goes to show the flexibility of the ServiceNow platform. Now we're logged in here as James, who is a business user. And for anything IRM, he can come in and click on risk and compliance and see the different types of requests or intake forms or submissions that are available from a risk and compliance perspective. So that includes things like being able to report a risk event or an issue, being able to submit things related to privacy impact assessments, and even being able to see quick links here, like what are the risks that I'm the owner for, or the controls that I'm the owner for, or any other types of reports, dashboards, or activities I need to be able to track. And again, this is all configurable, so you can add other types of intake forms to this page or remove some of these which might not be relevant to you. Now, what's really interesting here is that you can provide guided tours for the stakeholders. So you'll notice here that there's a pop-up to guide us through how to raise a risk event. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So we'll start by clicking on Report Risk Event, and this will bring us to an intake form where we can start to provide information with regards to this submission. So the guided tour is really here to provide that seamless experience for your stakeholders. You'll notice that as we step into this intake form, we're not only provided with information about what is this form for and what type of information do I need to submit, but the guided tour is actually stepping us through the different phases or parts of how to complete the submission. So maybe as a business stakeholder, this is my first time ever submitting a risk event, and I might need a little bit of help here. Or maybe the last time I submitted something like this was a year or two ago, and I just don't remember what I did back then. The guided tour is going to be key in helping me understand what are the steps I need to take here. So we can go through and simply follow the instructions and step through the different phases, provide information on, what was this event about, fill in the form here, the required fields. But it's not just the pop-up here that's providing us with information of how to complete this form. There's also going to be bubbles for more information. So you can actually provide guidance on, what are the definitions, what is it exactly that we're asking for, and provide those types of details all the way down to the field level as we see here. Now, this form is just an example. You can absolutely change all the terminology, the questions that you're seeing on this form to match the form that you're using today and to match your process. So all of this is configurable on your end. Now, continuing to step through our guided tour here, as we get to the end, you'll notice that there's actually a section for related articles and additional attachments. So even if the guided tour wasn't enough or the help bubbles wasn't enough, you can actually attach a detailed step-by-step guide providing explanations and more information around what it is that they need to know to make them successful in completing this submission. There's no need to jump into separate folders or tools. Everything can be accessed here in a single place. So the last step here is to complete our submission. And once we do so, the appropriate individuals from the risk or compliance team are going to get notified, and this risk event or the item that we're submitting will then go through a workflow to be reviewed, analyzed, triaged, all the way through to completion or closure. So it's very easy and very seamless for the stakeholders to come in. You don't need to have a lot of information or even know how ServiceNow works. You can see that there's a lot of tools here to support them in that seamless process to make their lives easier, to make that sentiment more positive and make the experience of wanting to or needing to complete a risk event much more positive. Even if you only have to do this once a year, you don't have to remember what it is that you did in the past. And this task, once submitted, also becomes something that can be collaborated on back and forth. So if the GRC or the IRM team has follow-up questions or needs additional information, they don't need to phrase it that there was an error or that the submitter didn't do a good job, but it really comes from more of that collaborative standpoint. All right, so that's taking a look at a risk event here. Now, everything we've shown in a risk event can also be done through that mobile app. So let me just close out this tour. When we're taking a look at the mobile app, as Blorda mentioned, there's many different activities that we can start to do. So you'll notice the virtual agent starts a conversation with you. It's trying to understand what it is that we need to do. We can actually look at the different items within here that we can initiate. If we need to do something like related to reporting a risk event, it'll actually start to step us through that same concept, but instead of doing it in a form view, it's in a chat view. So, again, depending on what your preferred method of communicating is as the business stakeholder, you have various options to accomplish the same thing, and you can pick the one that's easiest for you, that you're most comfortable with, if you want to be guided by the chatbot versus being able to fill out a form as we can see here. Okay. I love this as well because especially with the rise of hearing about ChatGPT in the market, I think it's important to know that we've even established integrations with ChatGPT too. So thinking about the way that app, for example, is the natural language processing on it or the AI learning capabilities, right? You can start to even apply stuff like that into ServiceNow. And ServiceNow in itself also has a whole suite of machine learning and artificial intelligence built in as the platform, which means as a GRC or an IRM group, you actually get that added benefit right away with the risk and compliance modules available in ServiceNow. Now, let's say that we've taken a look at or we've submitted any risk events or whatnot. Maybe we want to access one of our reports. So you can make different visualizations or reports available right here within the portal as well. Being able to see either the work that they're assigned to, the requests they've submitted, the work of the team that they're managing, right? If we're talking about any higher level managers, directors, VPs who might have risk or compliance responsibilities, employees, they can see the work that's being done by their team in supporting the IRM and the GRC functions. We can also take a look at any of the issues we're responsible or any of our submitted risk events that are right here. Now, everything you see on the screen, again, can be adjusted to your needs. So depending what's important for your business stakeholder to see, you can tailor this view to them. You can tailor it based on their persona or the type of role or the function that they're responsible for. And everything is actionable. So you can very easily drill into any of the charts that you see here. You can even come in and take a look at any of the issues that we see here. And that's actually just going to bring you straight to that form. What I love about these form views that we see here is not just that we can keep up to date on the status of what's going on with that or access the information, but there's also the activity log where you can communicate directly within the app. There's no need to, go to your email or whatnot to ask a question. You can actually type in your conversation right here. Is there an update as an example? And then that gets sends a notification to the appropriate people right here in that app. So again, switching that perspective as well, like if you need to be able to follow up with them and ask for more information, we're now doing this from a collaborative standpoint and communicating directly within ServiceNow, as opposed to being able, sending some task back and saying, well, you didn't provide the right information and making them feel like they're getting a slap on the wrist from that. We're really starting to encourage that risk-aware culture by collaborating directly with the risk stakeholders here. So far we've looked at the portal, we looked at the virtual agent, we saw that we can have reports right here and that we can collaborate and communicate directly within the platform. But a couple of other things that we were mentioning earlier, while email notifications, it's great, it's very common. Blurda was mentioning that Teams, Slack, all those apps are, a very common communication method for teams today. So, instead of this maybe sending a notification to an email, we can actually push those notifications directly to Teams and allow people to take action from that tool that they're most comfortable with. So with that, Blurda, do you want to kind of pull up an example of what the experience could look like for someone to be accessing this through the Teams integration?
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, how cool would that be? That's everything that you went through so far with the portal, with the virtual agent. How cool that would be if you would be able to access that from Teams. So this is Teams. I'm currently impersonating the same business users that Stephanie was impersonating on her demo, and I'm basically I will be able to see virtual agent. I will be able to access the Employee Center portal, but on top of that, I will be able to receive all notifications, get informed to notification, and also action some of these notifications in Teams. And I think here as you see, I'm able to see a notification that I have received in policy acknowledgement. I can see that the policies for acceptable use policy. I can see some data on this card. Obviously, this card can be configured in the way to provide the information you would need. This is just an example. I can see that this notification is asking me to action one of the items. So either I can accept, either I can reject, or either I can request an exception for this policy acknowledgement. So if I go ahead and I perform the action of accepting this policy, basically I'm done with the task and I can move on with my other task activities. And this is basically one example of how you can action those notifications. If I scroll up, you can see all of the activities that I have performed, all the notification that I have received. You can see because I'm owning a risk event or I'm approving the risk event, I'm getting informed all about all status updates of this risk event in Teams. So it's easily for me to manage and view these notification from Teams. And it's simple as if you miss any notification, you can see this view view notification command. You can always go and say view notification, and Teams will show you all the notifications that you haven't seen or you haven't actioned, so you can take action right at that moment. So this is one of the things you can do. I think we mentioned earlier that imagine if you're like somewhere like or in a different office location and you want to check around a policy. Let's say we want to check about privacy policy. I should be able just to put that in the keyword in my chat, and the Teams will go in, or the bot that it's integrated in Teams will go in and find the policy if it's somewhere for me, so I can have a look. This is because the virtual agent uses AI search to return results in this bot conversation. So as you can see, it has found the employee data privacy policy. This is the one that actually I need, so I can go ahead, I can click, and I can take the action or read the information I wanted from the policy. There are a lot of things that you can do in Teams. You can create and update records directly from here. For example, I think if we initiate the conversation with Teams, and I want to be able to raise a conversation with creating an incident, a risk incident, I should be able to go ahead, initiate that conversation. I should be able to click hi. When I click hi, all the possible things that I can do, all the options that I have access on will be displayed to me, and I can see like all the things that I can do here. So if I go ahead and just search risk, I will be able to see that I am able to report a risk event. And then after doing that, I will basically get presented to a list of questions. So if I go ahead and then just write my answers down, you can see the questions include details around the risk event, including in this case it's asking for the business unit ownership. You can apply any kind of validation on all the question is needed, like for example, if I go ahead and I write it asks me about the business unit that's been affected by the business unit, and I know that I know that it's called accounted, but I don't know the whole name, for example, for this business unit. The bot will help me find exactly what this business unit is, and I can surely know that this is accounting and finance, and I can continue this conversation with. Now, imagine if like I'm interrupted and suddenly I have to leave, or suddenly I have to catch the train. With Teams, I don't have to worry about losing what I already have provided, because I can easily continue the conversation on Microsoft Teams mobile app. So like if I go ahead and I share my quickly my mobile apps, just so you can see that how this gets integrated automatically, and how you can continue conversations from your mobile app and envision and continue the conversation that you've been previously doing on your desktop from Teams.
Right, which is actually so common to have to pick up a task or to pause on a task in the middle of something. And, just to that point about, being on a train, like, let's say they actually want to do this while they're sitting on the train. I love the fact that you can actually pick that conversation up if you have, the Teams chat or the Teams app on your phone, and the fact that the conversation doesn't get lost as a result of that.
Yeah, so like, and as you can see, like basically the conversation I've just had in the app desktop view, I can see like all of this on Teams. It's basically synchronized, and I can continue having this conversation with Teams while I can continue answering those questions. Those questions, maybe just to mention here, you can choose how you structure your questions. You can provide guidance first and then ask the question however you think that the employees will have it easier for them to provide the information that you're requiring from them. And if I just go ahead just to complete this risk event to show how easy it is to perform like all these necessary steps for you to complete the risk event. This is just an example. I'm raising a risk event, but you can complete an assessment, attestation, or raise an issue, approve task, and all of this can be done both by the desktop app of Teams and by the mobile version of it. So like once you have completed all the information you need, you will be able to see in real time that the platform creates the risk event for you. You'll be able to see this information about your risk event. You can go through if you want to go to the risk event if you want to add additional information, and that's basically a click away of adding this. You can see right after that, I received a notification informing me about the data breach risk incident that I've just created and some of the information that I want to get informed. And I think this is a way, while we are our mobile, I'll just go in and show the mobile app as well, just to show you like how easy it's like through mobile apps for you to be able to see policy and compliance, risk, BCM, and like you can add all those additional areas here as well for you to manage these tasks, take action these tasks. Like for example, I can see like all attestations on my team. I can see the issues. I'll be able to click on one of the issues, and the same way as Stephanie did earlier, I can add comments in here right from my teams. What I can do, you can see this updated automatically. What I can do, I can add, for example, I want to attach something, I will be able to go in and attach things to from the mobile app to the issue that I'm currently owning, and I have to provide updates time to time, or actions time to time. And then basically you can go and see like if the issue has any remediation tasks, and have a look at those remediation tasks as well. This is just an example. If I go to BCM, I'll be able to see like plans, offline plans, tasks, crisis events, and so on from the mobile app. And you can design those widgets on areas if you want to see reports, or if you want to see additional things. This is what you see is out of the box. You can definitely configure the mobile app to contain the information you need. That's easily accessible from the app that we have from ServiceNow.
Love that. So in other words, while we can have the mobile app available, the Teams app available, we can also have the mobile app for ServiceNow. Both are available.
Yes, and that's ways how you can quickly action some of these items that you can do around risk anywhere, anytime, as long as you have like a sort of device with you. Basically, like some people might like chat, some people might like mobile, Stephanie might like the portal you showed. Hence, that's why within Teams you have the portal integrated, when you can perform all the activities you did earlier from Teams. You can see reporting, access policies, and all these items from Teams.
Love it. I love seeing all this in action. So kind of just taking what we saw and applying it to that day in the life, we started by talking about the frustrations that a stakeholder could have, the confusions that they might run into. But with all of, let me just pass this. That was the last example we looked at. But with all of this new capability that you've been showing us, it's really adjusting that. So, coming in, starting their day, logging into prioritized work. I mean, it's already going to be embedded into their workflow and like the tasks that they have. In terms of receiving that notification, at least they have an idea that it's going to be a lot more seamless and easy this time around. While there might be a need to take a meeting, it might not need to be as long. In some cases, you can actually reduce the number of meetings that you're having. That's something that we've seen is very common, because we're not having to explain everything in person. There's a lot of guidance that we're providing the stakeholders. They can start working on those IRM tasks through whichever stream they're most comfortable with out of the various ones that we saw today. And it's pretty straightforward for them. And then they actually have that real-time update in terms of, where's the status of this? If they're asking for additional questions, everything is done through that collaboration that's available, eliminating the fact that they might be struggling, although they can still ask the questions, that's going to be a lot more seamless for them. And then that way, by the end of it, not only have we eliminated the confusion, the frustration, information, perhaps even the number of steps, but they're actually leaving that feeling like it was a lot more seamless than what that previous experience was, where they were having to jump between multiple solutions. They weren't sure where to go to find the right information. So all that to say that with this type of experience, making it easier to engage the front line, there's many different benefits that we're seeing here from streamlining that. But if we had to recap what that looks like, we saw that there's that single integrated platform, whether it's, starting with the portal or being able to kind of use Teams, reducing the need to swivel chair in terms of being confused on where to go, which document or folder was everything in. We can actually switch between apps very easily, but continue to carry on that same conversation from this point here. I know, Blurta, you're really passionate about the unified view.
Yeah, that's where was one of the things that I think we touched upon today, basically when we showed the portal and when we showed how you can use that shared experience, that unified view to address and make it very simple and intuitive for users to use the platform and register report elements in risk, and then how using all those these new features like AI chatbots and having this integrated in Teams can modernize the communication and collaborations that you will have with among employees on the space of risk and compliance.
Yeah. Love the concept of being able to modernize the communication and the collaboration, because the last thing we need is a lot of back and forth that's confusing, that could cost us costly mistakes and delays and fines as a result of that as well.
Yeah, and I feel like all of the items that we went today, we wanted to make sure that how you can create, you can use benefits, you can use the platform to create that risk aware in your organization. And I'm sure that how many minutes we have? I think we have 3 minutes left, Stephanie, to allow for questions if we have received any of these on the chat.
Perfect. So it looks like we have 3 in the Q&A. The first one here is, do we have the ability to export reports to PDF or Excel when accessing via mobile so that they can directly email to the appropriate person?
I would assume we have this option, but that's basically something that I can take away and come back to see if this really exists out of the box.
Yeah, Surya, I know for sure, we do have capabilities to export to PDF or Excel, and you can also do something called scheduling reports. So if you need to send an email directly to the appropriate person, if it's a report that they need to get on a recurring basis, you can actually automate that. As Blurta mentioned earlier, the mobile app is quite flexible. So I believe if you need to export the report specifically on your mobile app, it might just be a configuration update. But in any case, there's multiple ways that we can absolutely get that to the right person. The next question is, are the chatbots inherently included in the newer versions of ServiceNow?
I think the chatbot is included. I'm not sure from which version we released the chatbot feature, but you need to be in a certain type of license to be able to access the chatbot, Sandra.
Great. So maybe worth Sandra just confirming with your ServiceNow rep here to confirm that. And then the next question is there a major difference between a risk event and risk issue?
Yeah, so basically if you have a look, a risk event is basically a risk incident, and an issue is basically a gap that you may have as a result of risk, not only to that risk incident, but other areas affected in your organization as well. So I think it's a terminology thing, and then based on your frameworks, you can map it to the right terminology that we have in ServiceNow as well.
Perfect. I think we've answered all the questions so far. If you have any other questions, feel free to pop them in. We also do have a few other upcoming webinars, so take a look at the link that was posted in the chat if you're curious to attend any of the other webinars. Otherwise, we just want to say thank you so much for your time and attention. If you want to connect with us, feel free to scan the QR code that you see on the screen here, or open up that link, servicenow.com/risk, otherwise /community. Otherwise, thank you so much. And we hope that you have a great day.